Hi guys, it's 8:15 in the evening here. My day today didn't actually go as I planned. It was very much the woods, coulds and shoulds. I didn't actually do anything I intended to do this morning. But what I have done most of the day is watch videos on YouTube about other people's spiritual awakening and how it's impacted them and what they've experienced. And from this, it actually got me thinking about my own spiritual awakening, really. And a lot of what they're describing made me think about my own life experiences, and I've experienced some dramatic stuff in my life. But what was very prominent from the videos that I was watching today was that from a very, very early age, as far back as I can remember actually, which was like in nursery school, I always did feel different. And I knew that I was different in some way. I didn't know how, I didn't know why. And I sort of contained that aspect of myself for a very, very long time. I remember in my nursery class, Mrs. Bowden, an amazing woman, she was my nursery school class teacher, and she saw the core of me from that young age, and she was such an inspirational woman, bless her. She died very young, and her daughter Rhiannon came to school with me and went through school with me, and I still associate with her now and again. But her mum was an amazing woman, and she saw something in me that I wasn't really aware of at the time, and she accepted the core of me with who I was. And it's interesting how that has come back today from just watching the videos and me reflecting on my own life experiences. My life has been very much, if I call in on Teal Swans, sort of the way the spirituality goes, I've experienced something negative and then I've sort of gone into that emotion. It was probably this last sort of 2 years really that life experiences have hit me one bang, one bang, one bang, and I haven't had a chance to pick myself up from the last negative life experience to actually compose myself a bit before the next crappy thing come and hit me, you know. And I reached a point where, even though my life has been very a place of trying to fit in, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, I'll talk about the whole whammy of negative life experiences that have hit me one after another the last sort of year and a half, 2 years, which has given me no choice but to reach the place of being in the here and now, and just experiencing life moment for moment, and that true enlightenment. So I think most of my life I've been stuck, because going back to that fitting in thing, I tried to fit in so many different peer groups and stuff, and I could sort of change my vibrational energy and fit in with the vibration that peer groups and things were on. I'm talking even in primary school here, to sort of connect, and I have a very vast, culturally different friends and social group. And that's the way I like it, because I'm very integrative, and like I said, everybody can teach me something, even if it's about myself. It's even the negative, dark sides, you know. It's about the positives and the negatives working together, you know, and being in the whole enlightened state and the shift that comes with the spiritual awakening side of things. But for me, I was very much stuck in the 2.0 for a long, long time, where I would dip back out, but I contained myself very much in there, in that place, and I shut this spiritual side of myself off, because of this difference, this feeling of being different, and not being able to fit anywhere really, because I could shift my vibration to be accepted in groups, and I'm talking very different sort of socially acceptable groups and stuff like that, really. I can be as comfortable in a room with people who use drugs as I can be as comfortable in a room that someone's having a violin garden party and there's champagne and caviar. So I can shift my vibration to sort of fit. And I always look for the good in people. Everybody's got a good enough core, you know, and I think this is what Teal Swan is trying to get across now. But there's been this step again, you know, the step that's been missing. So today has been very much a reflection on my own progression. And if I'm completely honest, I really do I feel quite excited about the idea that the vibration, the spiritual awakening that is occurring for humanity now is about the shift that's outside me. Even though it is all of me anyway, I feel that the vibrational shift around me, everywhere I see things and look, and I, from the human beings that I interact with, for me, the main shift is that I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable in where I am, and I'm allowing myself to be where I am. And it fits. For the first time probably in my entire life, it fits, you know. I feel very excited about this spiritual awakening that's occurring in humanity, because for the first time I really do connect. And I recognise now what my purpose is, which is a wonderful, wonderful place to be. I do recall this past year and a half, a friend of mine who we were going through very similar things as far as relationships were concerned. So we sort of clung to each other. We were almost like we were harnessed to each other. You know, if she was on a down place, I would sort of help lift her up, and if I went down there, she would help lift me up. And this past 6 months, due to being in a situation where I've had to be sort of 24/7 palliative care for my 2 dying loved ones, that safety harness has had to be taken off, because obviously my focus had to be purely on my family and my loved ones and helping them pass over to whatever they passed over to. And it's interesting how where I am now, where I've had that space to be in this black and this white and immerse myself in the entire greyness of it all, in the core of being good enough. How now that I'm sort of engaging back into life again, because I have the space to do so now, really, that I no longer 24/7 palliative care, that I want to put the harness back on my friend, and say, right, come here, you know, you really need to come here, this is an amazing place to be. But I know until she faces her own demons and she looks at both sides, you know, the positives and the negatives and the spiritual aspects, until she actually looks at the demons within herself and faces them and accepts them, with regards to where she is in relationships, that she's not going to, even if I try to drag her, you know, there's no way I could drag her to where I am, and I find that a bit frustrating, because part of me, one of my demons that I've faced, is my need to be needed. I really needed, and not just wanted, to be needed. I was always the sort of saviour one, you know, the one that would save the day and be there in crisis and, you know, all that stuff. But that was all about my needs, my inner need to be needed, and being needed made me feel good enough, you know, and fitted with me being a good person. But the truth was, you know, sometimes I hated the fact that people needed me. It was so time consuming, good grief. You know, I'm not got a life of my own. You know, well, I don't want to be needed to be needed, but I'd have this pull to be needed. So for me, the spiritual sort of awakening, apart obviously the crown chakra and this irritation, where it's all opening up, even though I know it's a good thing, I find it quite, enough now, you know. Give me 5 minutes just to pause, just let me pause for a little minute, only a little minute, and I'll be fine. But it's not having any of it, you know. It's cracked open, and, you know, all this psychic stuff is, well, spiritual stuff. It's not just psychic. Psychic ability is one aspect of spirituality, but this whole spiritual levitation, and this vibrational lift, that I'm definitely sort of in that in-between place now of enlightenment, and, you know, warts and all, this is who I am. And I like that feeling. I do like that feeling that, you know, being in this place gives me. I'm not sure what the next step's going to be. I really don't know. But I know whatever hits me now, it's not going to impact me like it has, because there's so many negative experiences that have happened in my life. They've been spaced out. You know, they have been sort of spaced out. And instead of learning from it and sort of going with it and sort of really absorbing what I was learning from the experience and developing on a very spiritual level from the experience, I was containing myself. I was containing it all because of this inability to fit in anywhere, and being able to shift very quickly from one vibration to the next, but never truly being in my whole core of me. Was it about rejection? Maybe there was part of rejection in there, or this need to be needed in rejection. And today is all about me sort of really sort of looking at my own journey with this spiritual awakening, really. And I will continue to do so today, because even though my intention was to do so much more with this Good Enough educational pack, and, you know, sort of looking at all the stuff that I've worked on, a synchronistic thing happened actually this morning, and I said I would sort of draw on the synchronicities as well. When I was lecturing and teaching, one of the things I would say to my students was, well, you can't just put your hand in and then take your hand out. You've got to put your whole self in to put your whole self out, you know. And I think something came on the YouTube channels, and the kids had been sort of playing, so you know when he sort of scrolls up and different things, and something came on about the Okie Kokie, and that memory come flooding back, you know, with regards to got to put your whole self in to get your whole self out. So I think for me right now, it's about actually working on myself, and looking at where my spiritual awakening has occurred to get me where I am now. Because it's been happening all along, and what my need was to keep myself contained, even though I could really lift myself on a very high vibrational level in situations. And, you know, I could actually get in a very deep meditative state very, very quickly. You know, I can go from this state to this state as quick as that. And I used to think that maybe there was something wrong with me, maybe, you know, maybe there's a bit of mental illness going on here, you know, maybe don't say anything about all this stuff that's occurring. So I didn't, so I contained it all. So the spiritual awakening and having this time and this space to feel it, to be it, to sense it, to really absorb myself in this whole elevation, this whole lifting, and this whole combining of the black parts of me, the white parts of me, is who I am. It's been a very big learning. So I'm going to continue doing that for the rest of the day. I do feel a little bit tired because I've been thinking about all these different stuff that I've experienced. And even though the impact emotionally hasn't been the same, I do feel a little bit drained. It's like, oh, you know, a nice hot bath maybe, and, you know, maybe a nice glass of wine would be a really good idea right now. So this is just sort of me sort of updating you on where my day has gone. So I'm going to sign out now. I'm going to say goodnight. Even though it's probably only 8 o'clock, I'm going to have a nice long soak in the bath, and just relax and chill out, and maybe have a glass of wine. So I'm going to say, you are good enough. Every single human being is good enough, and you have a lot to offer. You know, there's something in you that is really, really vitally important that you need to learn, or somebody out there needs to learn from you, from your experiences. So be safe, be happy. Good night.